Hello and good morning guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I want to do a short-ish tutorial on the Network Multitool mod in Cities Skylines 1, because I think I was talking about it in my last Mio video, and I think it's a kind of an underrated mod. Not that people don't recognize its value, but in that a lot of people don't seem to be familiar with or know all the features or like how to use them. So I'm going to go through basically all the features, how you can use them, and how I use them basically. So let's start with the first feature, which is basically the add node feature. I should also say the reason why I have Network Multitool up here in the corner is because that's a setting in the mods. I'm using Unified UI and it's one of my Unified UI mods. If you don't have it there, you might have it near your roads menu. I think that might be the default setting. It might pop up somewhere here, so don't get panicked. This is a Unified UI thing. Okay, let's get on to the features. It's not going to be a tutorial about everything, but it's definitely going to talk about all these features and how you can use them. So the first thing is the add node mode. It's very straightforward. It basically does what you think. You select it and you click somewhere on a segment, like a road, and it will add a node. I use this one quite a lot. It has a lot of like special utility, I guess, for like making weird stuff. Like when I make weird monorail bridges, I use this a lot to create more nodes than the game would otherwise spawn. It's not really one of those features you can't live without. There's other ways to do the same thing, but it's a very neat feature. I'm also starting to use the second feature, almost without even talking about it. It's remove node mode. So basically, it lets you remove nodes that we just created, or any nodes really. When it comes to removing nodes, at the corner you see it sort of creates a new, it shortens the route between the two, and this is pretty neat if you want to have like very long segments. I guess you could use it, but keep in mind that you might get like issues with the rendering if you make the segments too long using this feature. It goes the same if you use move it to stretch out the networks as well. But yeah, I should say as well that if you're trying to remove a node, you can only remove a node that has two segments going into it. So if we, for example, have a junction here, we can't remove this node because it doesn't know which one of the how do you say it? Like, it doesn't know how it would deal with the consequences of removing this node. You can only remove nodes that are connected to two segments. This is a segment, and this is a segment. So now it will work. There you go. Then you get a funny S-bend shape even. Probably useful for some things. Okay, so the next feature on the list is the union nodes mode. This is a relatively neat feature as well. Basically, you select two nodes and it will merge those into one node. So for example, I select this node here and then I select this node here. It's going to put them into this same node. Now this was a very unintuitive way to use it, but I'll show you in this case instead. This is probably a better use case. So you have two separate segments here. I want to connect these nodes. I will click on this guy here and this guy here. It will move the first node to the second node you press. So the order of it is important here. So for example, if we now select this top node and move it down here, select this one as the second, it will move this node to down here. So that's how it works. Then comes the split node mode, which is something I very, very seldom use. I think I thought about it. This is one of the features I might have never actually used before this week when I tested it the first time. But it basically does the opposite. So now we have, let's do it like this. Now we have this one node, right? And we first click on the node we want to split. And now we need to click on one of the segments we want to disconnect, and now we can place wherever we want it. So we get the third click is basically where the node's new location should be. This feature works, I believe, even if you have a free segment connection, because you can do select, segment, and like so. There's definitely use for this. I don't use it very often, as I said, but it's a neat feature. I should say also, with all of the network multi-tool features, there's no undo feature. There's no undo functionality. So you need to keep kind of that a little bit in mind. But if you accidentally, for example, unionize your nodes, there's no way to undo it, which is a little bit of a shame, but you know what, we can't have everything, so. But keep that in mind if you're doing complicated stuff with this. You might want to save before, so because there's no way to undo it as you would with move it. Okay, I'm going to show the next feature, which is the Intersect feature. I'm going to just create a situation so I can show it. The Intersect does what it seems, what it sounds like. It intersects segments. So I click this feature, I click on one segment, I click on the other segment, and it creates a intersection node, or a node at the intersection of these two segments. Super useful feature in some cases. Don't use it that often, but it's sometimes you just need it, and then it's perfect to have. So the next feature is a little bit weird, and I'm not probably super certain of how to explain it, but basically it's called invert segment. Invert segment mode, and you can see what it does with the manhole cover. Oh, it actually deletes it sometimes. That's a bad example then, but I'll probably have a better chance showing this on a street, because it doesn't really flip the road itself. I'll actually reset my street here so it has a street lamp as well, so we can actually see how it's oriented, how that doesn't change. Okay, so I'm flipping this now, and you can kind of see, you can kind of get the idea that the mesh is flipped, which is the actual roadway. The textures of the road looks like they flip or get rotated, but the street lamps stay the same. So this is a kind of a weird, pretty weird feature. I'm sure you can use this. I don't know the most clear use case for it so far. I've tried it with keys, I believe, in the past. Keys. Let's have a go, like see what happens if we play around with some keys. I don't think it actually does what you'd imagine, because this would have been the most obvious case, like if you want to flip a key. It doesn't actually do it. So it doesn't really do what you think it might do, but it does something. It flips the mesh, but not the asset, if that makes any sense. You can also see how the center line is kind of offset a little bit between. So I don't know, if you guys know more precisely what this feature does and think you're able to explain it better than me, then please tell, and I'd love to read about it. So the next feature, moving on quickly before it becomes a long tutorial, is the set slope mode. I want to talk a little bit about the set slope mode. This is probably one of the features that most people using the Network Multitool mod are familiar with and have used, because it's a very useful feature. I want to create like a very quick and dirty switchback road here to sort of illustrate it. Actually, that's pretty much a too good switchback road. I need something that's a little bit bad, so that we can actually see it in action. So the issue with using a mod like MoveIt for sloping this is, MoveIt is great for lots of features. It has a lot of features nothing else, no other mod does, but when it comes to sloping, it slopes in a way. Oh yeah, slope objects. It slopes linearly from the 2 points furthest away from each other. So in this case, it adds a linear slope from this point here down to this point here. And let's undo. So basically, when we press it, you can see it creates a slope linearly between those points. You can still, of course, work by doing it in this way if you want to, right? Like one way, but it's there's a much. Oh, let's add some. It's ugly, but there's a much better way to get the result with Network Multitool, I have to say. So the way is Basically, you select the slope, it's called set slope mode, and then click on the starting and the ending nodes. And now you also get this super duper useful overlay that says like the slopes. So it's minus 13%, very, very steep, plus 1 there, so it actually goes up a little bit. It does these numbers from in the direction you click on the first time. So basically, if we click this way, it's going to invert the numbers. It's going to be minus and then plus. And then you can add more nodes if you want to. You can make it longer, extend it. So if we press enter now, after doing that, it will slope everything at a continuous slope. And in this case, that became 7 degrees, or 7%, sorry. Of course, it doesn't really work here, but with the terrain, it pops out too much. But it's a super duper useful feature. And yeah, I recommend using this for basically anything. It's very good, especially sometimes just for the feature of knowing what slope did I create. Is this a realistic slope? Is this a good slope? What can I do to fix it? So super useful feature, very quick to use, very easy to use. Next feature is a line, arrange at line, accidental Swedish, arrange at line mode, which is basically, oh, this is great, we had this weird node here. That means I can show how it works. If we want to smooth out a weird curve, for example, like for example here, we can do it with one segment as well. No, I don't think we can. Yeah, it has to be more than 2 segments, or two segments or more. But basically, it will provide this preview of how it shortens the connection, and it's going to create basically exactly the same results as if we're using the next tool on the create curve mode, which we'll come to in a little bit. Not yet, but it smoothens out a curve of existing network. So basically, doing stuff like this, you can have that as well. If you want to remove that thing there, it's a very useful tool. One thing about these two tools together is the set slope and arranged line is that they are kind of similar in the UI, so I sometimes mix them up and click the wrong one, which is very annoying, because if you accidentally set slope and do that when you were intending to do arranged line, it's usually not a big deal. But if you do arranged line when you're supposed to set slope, it's a bigger deal, because it actually moves the nodes in the X and Y direction across the map, so it changes. We're getting an autosave. It basically moves the nodes on the map, and that can, cause a little bit of, there's no way to undo this, for example. I'd have to figure out some other way to fix it, which we'll get back to this thing here. I have a great case to show that later, but let's do the next option or feature here, which is range at circle mode. This is one of my favorite features. You can say that for all of them, but let's use a one-way road for this occasion, I suppose. I'm gonna create a vanilla roundabout. How about that? 4 units, 4 units, 4 units. It's not flat here, so we'll have to just move it a little bit to flatten everything. Set everything to the same height. Yeah, there we have a roundabout. You would notice it's not perfectly round. Like, it's not your eyes. It's just like how the game works. There are ways to make it kind of round with just 4 nodes. I'm using the plus and minus keys now to shorten move all the segments into the center together. Plus and minus keys is a modifier for move it, of course, so it's not the mod we're actually talking about, but it would be nice if we had another way to make it look more like a circle. I don't know the explanation for this shape, but the game is actually not doing circles when you think it's doing circles. So this 90-degree turn here, it's something maths, geometry, it's something programmer-wise. It's a decision that makes sense, but for the player that just wants a circle, no, it doesn't make sense. So we're going to add a few nodes here using the add node mode. Let's add Honestly, I think 2 is enough, but let's add 4, so we have a 8 total, just for good measure. I'm gonna go in and arrange at circle mode. I'm gonna click, and because we don't have any nodes connecting to this, it's just gonna automatically select all at once. I don't know. Ooh, that's a... I did not know about that feature. You can apparently drag it as well. Yeah, so basically click on any node and enter once, and it will arrange everything at the circle, and it will become much more circular than it was before. I mean, if you want to scale this up now, you can make it bigger. You can select and plus minus keys. It will kind of offset and squish it, but then we can just do the same thing again. We can use the arrange at circle and press enter, and it will circularize it, I guess. There we go. This is super useful, needless to say, for roundabouts, but also many other things. Looks a little bit uncanny. I'm not sure why. It should be. You can see these. They do connect in a proper way, but yeah. Very, very neat feature. Very good for roundabouts and other things. Let's hop on to the next feature, which is create loop mode. This is another one of those features that you might have used and might have seen used. Basically, we select this and we select 2 nodes or 2 segments, and we get this very neat preview of how it will create a road for us. Let's use a different road so that we don't have a one-way here. And yeah, we don't have a lot of options. We can move the circle if we want to. I believe we can, yeah, we can plus and minus to increase the radius as well. We can use the plus and minus keys, and it moves all over the map. So this is the smallest radius possible here in this situation. And let's do the smallest one actually. I kind of like that. And press enter, and it will create a loop like that. Very neat, very good for creating on-ramps and connecting roads and such. Like, yeah, for example, if we want to connect this guy to this guy here, see, it automatically selects the wrong side of a segment. That means we just have to click on the other side and it will fix it. And here we can move the center point like that. And let's do the largest curve possible here. Press enter once. There you go. Very neat, very neat. It's connected backwards as well. Actually, let's try and see what happens if we do oh, these can't be connected because they're parallel. That's a downside. That's a consequence of how this works. This tool only works with 1 loop at a time. That's the thing you need to remember. If we want to do more than 1 loops at a time, we have to do the create connection mode, which is probably my favorite tool. I might have said that about everything, but the create connection is genius. Don't mind that shape. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let's try it again. Basically, you do it the same way as the loop. You select 2 segments, and you see you have, by default, you have 2 resizable loops by default. These resizable loops are connected to the segments where you started, where you clicked your first and second click. By double clicking on these 2 guys, actually a bad case to show it there, it makes it a little bit complicated. Let's do it between these instead. And I'm gonna flip it over to this side. Right, so here you get the 2 circles. We can drag, by selecting the center, we can drag the points, the end points that is, in the extension of the end road on each side. We can increase the size by dragging the circle outline. We can also click plus and minus keys to increase the size of these together as one, which is kind of useful sometimes. You can also use the shift, hold down shift, and then you will drag out this, and you can see the radius is increasing in intervals, in 10-meter intervals, which is super useful as well. I don't think it does anything in this direction, but yeah, generally modifier keys are great. So now we have a connection between these 2 points. What if we want to add another point in the middle? Like, what if we just double click on the line, right? And then we get a completely freely movable point, and this one can be increased and reduced in size again. You can see it turns red when we're creating a overlap between circles, basically. That can't be done. So I'm gonna make it smaller, and we can actually snap it. It even snaps to the other circle, so we can create a sort of just series of circles that just snaps to each other if we want to, like that. You can make this a little bit larger. Yeah, there you go, something like that. We can use the minus key to make all them smaller. You see this guy flipped side because it became too small for the roots. We can move it back if we want to. Double click moves, basically inverts the loop, so it loops in the other direction. Instead of like looping to the left, it loops to the right. Double clicking. The way to sort of show that the best is probably by just having a straight line and seeing what happens. Super useful feature. I used this feature earlier today to create this in one click. I've used this feature in one go to basically create a high-speed train line all across the map. That's the Mio video I was talking about. I've used it plenty in the past for all sorts of things. It's a really, really useful feature. I absolutely love it. It's called Create Connection. And I really recommend you to play around with it and learn it as best you can, even though it can be a little bit intimidating. I did talk about it with the slopes. Like, it gives you so much useful information. That's the biggest benefit of this. It shows you the radius of the turn. Like, for example, if you're creating a high-speed rail line, you want a really high, you want like maybe something like a 2 or 3 kilometer radius. And this lets you do that. It lets you really, really play around with the numbers and like channel your inner math nerd, and you know. So this would be about the radius for a high-speed train going at full speed anyway. Very, very useful mod, very, very useful feature also. Let's hop over to an easier to use and much more basic feature, which is the create curve mode. Basically, create curve mode does the exact same thing as the arranged line, but it connects two previously unconnected segments. So these guys don't have any connection between them. So I will connect them, and I have to select because it's plopping on the wrong side. And press enter once, and there you go. And just to prove that it is the arranged line mode, I will try and do this. And you see, it's going to... It didn't move them anything that I can see anyway. It's basically in the same spot. So if you really just need to connect something very quickly, like this is the mod, this is the feature you use, something like that, you know. There you go. Or even for straight lines it works. Of course, these are gonna create some cursed nodes, but just to illustrate how neat it can be. Ooh, actually selected the wrong network there. Yeah, there you go. And we have a caricature of an intersection, I guess. But of course, if we want to create these junctions here, we should use the intersection. And we'd probably have to fix this with move it, and of course change the road types. But yeah. Hopefully you see a little bit of how you can use this mod, especially together with other mods like Move It. That's when it becomes the most powerful, I think. The next feature is the second to last feature, and it's the parallel mode. And to show the parallel mode, I'm gonna first use the create connection mode to create a sort of very basic weird connection between here. Great. You might have also used this before. It's the create parallel mode. It's very useful as well. Also one of my favorite features. It basically creates a parallel road that's parallel to the first selection. You select any road, any distance. Sometimes it won't select the whole thing in one go. For example, how can I show this? If I select this node here and this node here, it's a red outline. It shows the node as red. So you have to actually select here first, and then here, and then here, and then here. Or I didn't actually get anything. Yeah, like that. Let's actually put this into a different use case. Let's have the... We want to create a median rail or something, or a railing or a fence in the middle. Let's use fence, searching for fence, and let's say that we're happy with the farm fence. I know it's not the most guardrail looking asset, but let's just use it like this, like that, like this, and say that's enough. Now it will create a guardrail that's parallel to the road, but we want to have it maybe in the center. So if I press the plus key, shift plus, modifies the placement. No, it's too much. I can get it, yeah, pretty much in the center there, right? 16, that's 16 meters offset. That seems to be, 16 meters seems to be what we need to do. You can see it shows even. There's also a height offset, which I'll have to show with the network because this is the terrain conforming fence. But yeah, then press enter and it's placed, and then we have a fence that's parallel to the roadway. There's of course other ways to place the fence, but you know, I can definitely see that being one of the ways you would want to do it. I should also actually do with another road. So let's say we want to have a parallel road to this highway here. And oh yeah, oh my goodness, I'm changing everything around. I don't know why it became night. That's kind of funny actually. So I have dev UI whenever I press tab, so that's why this opens. Don't worry so much about that. I will show in this case because it's the better case, I think. We're selecting from this node to that node, and I'm using the offset again. And I think we're going to match it pretty much dead on here. I also want to show that you can actually raise and lower these guys. I won't tell you which my keyboard shortcut for raising and lower. I recommend you to look in the settings of your game because it's some Swedish letters on my keyboard, and I don't know how that translates to yours. But basically, plus and minus keys will increase the offset, but the other keys are probably local for your keyboard. I'm sorry. So we're back at 0 meters anyway. The raising height is very useful for lots of things, but here we want to have 0 meters because I want to show how it kind of will snap here. It will actually snap if it's close enough to the other node. So that's super useful as well. Here it did a funny thing because when we did the offset, this segment is so short, it kind of created these nodes into each other, so it kind of creates a broken situation. But that's a consequence of this being offset that direction. It's not the mod breaking. I should also show the tab thing that I kind of accidentally showed. Pressing tab flips to the other side as well. So if you want to have, I don't know, if you want to have like if you want to have this as the center, for example, if you want to create like a fence as the center line first, and then you want to have the highways on either side, just drag out any length like this, and then tab, and then you have it on the other side. Super quick, super easy. One of my favorite features as well. I'm gonna delete this because it causes some ugly clipping. For the final feature, I will have to place a train station, or it doesn't have to be a train station, but the train station is probably the best example to show this. Don't mind that, that's mods. Basically, the train station has this built-in train track, right? There's plenty of assets that have built-in networks. I can't upgrade this network. I can select it and find it and stuff like that. I can connect to it, right? But I can't upgrade it. It won't even become available for upgrade. If I ever use the unlock segment, the last feature here, and then click it once, then I can upgrade to another type of network. Now upgrade is to a regular train track. This of course won't function as a train station right now, so there's obviously ways you can break the game with this. Let's try some other examples. Like we can upgrade it with a different type of train track. Yeah, maybe that, you know. I think you might still be able to get this to function. If you want to, again, you can also lock it by clicking another time. Basically, green indicates that you will unlock it, and the yellow indicates that you will lock it. And you can also lock other networks. For example, this guy here. So now this guy is locked. You can't upgrade this anymore. But it won't follow because it's not connected to a building. But it won't be upgradable at least. You can, when it comes to train stations, there are other ways to replace or like at least remove a network. So you can use hold on Alt with move it and just, you know, delete them or get rid of them or do something. But the upgrade feature is very good if you want to, for example, if you want to, for example, change the type of track in a way. There are also mods like this, whatever mod this is, I think it's Ron, that lets you do this with a UI, but you can do it using the upgrade feature as well, replace the station tracks basically. While editing, I did realize there's one more thing I kind of forgot to show. There's a step over function in Network Multitool that basically if you have stuff very close to each other, like nodes very close to each other, you can control space click or control space bar will basically toggle between the options. So for example, if we want to remove one of these nodes and it doesn't select the right one, we can toggle with control space bar and then remove the right one. That's just what I wanted to add. I believe that was all the features I wanted to go through, and the video is 30 minutes long and I thought I could do it in 15. I'm sorry guys, hopefully you found this helpful anyway, and yeah, let me know what you think if you want more tutorials like this and other things. I try to be compact. I think by now, if you just have this video at your disposal, you have pretty much all of my knowledge of this mod. I didn't leave, as far as I know right now, I didn't leave anything out. You got everything. Just like go back and you'll be able to, I guess, relearn and all this immense knowledge. It is a lot of knowledge about this mod, to be honest, and 30 minutes isn't that bad, but yeah. Sorry again for the long video. I will be going away for a little bit, so even though I have been releasing a few videos in a short amount of time, there will be a 4-week or so lull probably, because I will do a summer internship, but after that, when I'll be back in July, I'll hopefully get some more Mio videos out, and I'm really excited for that, to be honest. Who knows, maybe I'll be able to do it sooner. I'll try my best. I'm excited to be back anyway doing these things, so I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. If you liked the video, like, subscribe. But if you feel like if you know somebody who needs help, like figuring out NMT, Network Multitool, NMT is my acronym for it, of course. You know, maybe share this video and with a timestamp to this part here. Look here, you can do roundabout. And also, yeah, if you have any suggestions for other mods that are similar, like that you want, like maybe a more in-depth tutorial how to use. I mean, I could see myself trying the node controller as well. Intersection marking tool I kind of already have done video tutorials on that, but maybe not in the basic, maybe more of very specific use cases. So yeah, maybe Bob, I don't know. Anyway, no more rambling from me. I'll see you guys. Have a great day and goodbye.